Now let's turn our attention to West Asia. Israel's war is entering its third month and the attacks are still on. Israel does not have a deadline to end the conflict. It wants to fight till the Hamas is eliminated. But the United States does not seem on board anymore.
It remains imperative that Israel put a premium on civilian protection. And there does remain a gap between exactly what I said when I was there, the intent to protect civilians, and the actual results that we're seeing on the ground.
So America is now talking about accountability. The same America that armed Israel for the war, now it is counting the casualties from those weapons. Also, the US is Israel's closest ally. They share what they call a special relationship. But the cracks are starting to show. Washington is scaling back its support. Yesterday we told you how Biden's support is wavering. The US has announced visa bans, and it is drawing its red lines publicly. They have clear differences also in the battlefield. In Gaza, Israeli forces have moved to the south. The city of Khan Yunis is the new battleground. It is Gaza's second biggest city and the last remaining stronghold of Hamas. Israel wants to control Khan Yunis. The aim is to encircle the remaining Hamas fighters and remove the group from power. Israeli forces are hunting for one man in particular, Yahya Sinwar, a top Hamas leader. Israel says Sinwar is the mastermind of the October 7th attacks. So now there is a target behind his back. And Israel believes that Sinwar is in Khan Yunis and they're close to capturing him.
Now they're encircling Yahya Sinwar's house. So his house is not a fortress and he can escape. But it's only a matter of time before we get him.
The plan sounds straightforward. Then why are the US and Israel at odds? Their difference is over the approach. Israel prefers the conventional route, sweeping airstrikes followed by ground operations. That is the Israeli playbook. It is effective, but it also leads to a high number of civilian deaths. That's how Israeli forces fought in the north. But now the Americans do not want a repeat in the south.
The United States is doing to address that very situation is, number one, making clear to Israel that we do not want to see this campaign conducted in the south the way it has been conducted in the north.
The brief from Washington is clear. The US wants Israel to save civilian lives, which means adopting a different game plan, cutting back on the airstrikes and sticking to targeted operations on the ground. But is Israel prepared to give in to these demands? Unlikely. Then they have some other points of friction, like how much aid should be allowed into Gaza and whether there should be another ceasefire. Yesterday, Joe Biden spoke to Netanyahu again. He repeated what Linken had said earlier, but he wasn't able to move the needle. Bombs are still falling all over Gaza, so the US has changed tack, hardened its tone, and made its complaints public. But make no mistake, this does not stem out of kindness or concerns over human rights. This is about cold strategic calculations in America. Joe Biden is going into a tough election next year. Support for Israel is hurting his numbers. First, he faced internal dissent from diplomats in the State Department. They were against the decision to support Israel. And now Biden is losing support within his party, the Democrats. 63% of them, 63% of Democrats are against Israel's war. That's according to a voter survey that came out this week. Biden cannot afford this. If he wants a second term in office, he must fix these numbers and make some difficult choices. The cost of supporting Israel is way too high for him now, and Netanyahu is not really helping matters with statements like this one.
I say here to our friends in the world who are pressing for a quick end to the war, our only way to end the war and end it quickly is to use overwhelming force against Hamas. Overwhelming force and destroy it.
Let me translate that for you. He has no plans to go slow. Netanyahu wants to deploy overwhelming force in Gaza. The US wants to bend Israel to its will, but even with a close ally like Israel, there are limits to American leverage. President Biden is being forced to confront these limitations. He may not have started this war. He may not even have sent American troops to fight it, but this war could still define his legacy as president. And at the moment, it doesn't look promising.